Welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. 2016 has started. Lots and lots and lots to talk about. Monday Night Football, as many of you like to call it. Let's go ahead and get started on tonight's show. Hi guys, I'm Wiso from FootMexSource.com. Welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show, a football podcast, all things related to Mexican soccer. 2016, we're here, finally back on the air, a couple of weeks off. They called us lazies, que vagos. They kept saying that, get your stuff together. We want Mexican football. We're finally back, so glad to have everybody back. On today's show, welcoming Mr. Tom Marshall from Guadalajara, Naib Moran desde Mexico, and Jason Marquitz from somewhere in the East Coast. I think New Jersey, Jason? Philadelphia? You're always moving, man.
Yeah. More or less.
More or less. Welcome to everybody on the chats. It's good to see you. Feliz Año Nuevo to everyone, including our friend Mr. Ivan Afrozander. If you're not following him, keeping up with all of the live tweets here at the Mexican Soccer Show. And everyone else who's on there, if you're not on our YouTube channel, get on right now. That way we can talk to you. You can give us your comments. You can critique us. You can tell us what's going on. You can have a great conversation about anything Mexican football there. Make sure the moderators are listening so that way they kick anybody out who doesn't have good conversations. But let's go say hi, Mr. Tom. All over England, Mr. World Traveler. Now you're back. What's going on, man?
Yeah, all good. Came back into the routine about a good few weeks back in England. So, yeah, it's actually good. I'm glad to be back on this time zone because watching games from over there is a nightmare.
That's right.
Like 4 a.m. and stuff. So, yeah, but good break.
You didn't DVR them, record them somehow, and then wake up, 8 and start watching them with some, whatever the traditional English breakfast.
Not that good at technology. So yeah, but good times. Went to a couple of games and stuff. So always good to see the differences and stuff. So between the game over there and over here, it's pretty vast, I can tell you.
Man, I think we can do a whole show on the differences, right, Tom? Let's just do that. Mr. Naib Moran, welcome back from back in Mexico City. I know you traveled to the United States, back to Houston, and then back. Welcome.
Yeah. I mean, over there to pass the Christmas holidays. But first, Feliz Año, Wiso, Tom, and Jason, and also to the audience that is watching. It's an exciting year for Mexico. I mean, think about it: the Olympics, the Copa Centenario, and there's two teams in Libertadores. We'll see if there will be a third team in Libertadores if Puebla is able to beat Racing. But it was an exciting start to the Clausura with a lot of goals, a lot of great goals, by the way, in the second week of games.
There it is. Yeah, lots of great goals. Again, I think last year, a great league. Many people around the world talking about the goals and how many goals were scored in the competition. So it's good to see that we have that competitiveness already in week 2. Jason Marquitz, welcome back, sir, for the new year, 2016. How's it going?
It's going. It's great. Proper northeast winter started up here. It's nice and unpleasant. And but the great thing is that we're already into week 2 of Liga MX, and it's a great comfort that Liga MX is finally back, and it's back and really rolling too. Exciting 2 weeks I think we've had so far, so I'm excited to talk about it.
Nice. Always. Call him Mr. Cruz Azul fan will give us his output on the team for all of you guys that are there. Well, this is the Mexican Soccer Show. If this is the first time you're listening or watching us, well, welcome to the show, 2016. Been doing this almost 100 episodes. We're going to do a special 100th episode coming up pretty soon. Can't believe that it's been that long already. Doing this almost every Monday. Today, a little change in the time, 6 p.m. Pacific. Get you guys a little bit early, but normally we'll do 7 p.m. and then the daylight savings time starts out, messes everybody. But we'll be ready to go. Saying hi to everybody on the chat once more, Mr. Guelito. Lots of new characters: Palacios, Nestor Arroyo, saying Leon, Edwin G, the guys from Pancho Villa's Army, Mr. Ivan Fernandez. So if you're not on the chat again, get to a computer. If you can do it from your phone, amazing. But if not, get to a computer to talk to us. But let's go ahead and get this show started because we've only got about 55 minutes left. So let's go ahead and get started. On today's show, we'll be talking about the Mexican national team. Of course, we'll start in 2016 outlook. We'll talk about Osorio, talk about the Europeos and their and how they're doing, what they're going to be looking for, especially this year. The Olympics, the tournaments, Copa America, all that we want to see, kind of a prediction. Then we'll start talking about Liga MX second week in. How do we already have a clear favorite, or the craziness of the Liga MX has already started, where it doesn't matter who comes in and score and wins 8 games in a row. Doesn't matter. Do we have anybody dethroning Tigres? And lots to talk about here. And let's go ahead and get started with the Mexican national team. Is that okay, guys? Should we start there?
Yeah, sounds good.
It doesn't matter. We already have the production saying that we should do it anyway. So, we should, guys. All right. Mexican national team 2016. We had our amazing award show almost a month back, and obviously we were talking all about Osorio. We were talking about Guardado, Chicharito, all the best of the best, especially the Mexican national team. But what do we have looking forward to? And this question to Naive Moran. Naive, 2016, it's 2 years after the World Cup, right? 2015 is the Copa Oro. Now another Copa America Centenario. But most importantly, what happened 4 years ago with the Oro? If you've seen that documentary, and with the Olympics, tell us, what do we look forward to the Mexican national team in 2016? How are we looking so far? And obviously, we'll have a conversation around that.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's interesting, it's how everything is turning out, because I think Osorio's start into his tenure with the Mexican national team was actually, it was good. A win in San Pedro Sula sort of was a big moment, with the goals from Tecatito and Jürgen Damm. And then I think a lot of people in Mexico are saying that this U23 generation is the most prepared, probably most talented in its history. And it's a big challenge for this team, for this generation, considering what already happened 4 years ago with that generation, with the Chatons, Marco Fabian, and so forth. But I think what we have been able to see with the U17s, the U20s, and how these teams have been brought up. And let's keep in mind, Potro Gutierrez has been coach of youth teams in El Tri for 6 years already. So we're talking about a long process that is gonna practically end in Rio de Janeiro, and it will be a huge success if they are able to win the gold medal.
The gold medal is what's looking forward. I haven't heard anything from the Federación Mexicana de Futbol with the outlooks that normally comes around in this month and in February, saying this is what we want. Normally some goals. Last year we want to get this. We want to win the Copa America. Tom, to you, putting goals like that, I think last year was 4 years ago, it was just to get a medal, bronze, silver, or gold. To you, getting those goals, what would be an attainable goal for Mexico? The gold again, or maybe be in the podium of the final match?
I mean, I think this squad is, like Naib was saying, extremely talented. That there's a lot of quality players, but I think there's one major deficiency, and it's no one's fault. But you look at the age of the players, and not many of them. They're a couple of years behind. I think the key figures like Eric Gutierrez, for example, Rodolfo Pizarro, Irving Lozano, they've still got a couple of years. So you look at the team last time, and it was like Israel Jimenez, 23. Iran Mier, 23, Hector Herrera, 22, Cortez, 23, Fabian, 23, Giovanni Dos Santos, 23. You had all these players that were actually, they were already 23 and very established, whereas I think this time around they're slightly younger. And I do think a tournament like the Olympics, and with younger players, it does have an effect. The other thing is who's going to be the three overage players. I mean, we've seen some stories today that perhaps it's going to be Chicharito. As one of them. I'd be very surprised if Chicharito is at that August tournament and not at the Copa America in I think June, just because I think it's club commitments.
Can you do both, Tom?
No. I mean, I think that's already been said, and Chicharito needs that break, so it's not going to happen. And I'd be very surprised if he plays the Olympics, just because Leverkusen might need him in that Champions League. If they're in the Champions League qualifiers, for example, and I think it'd be better to play in the June tournament. Better for Mexico as well, because at the end of the day, the main goal for Mexico isn't winning the Olympics. It's to try and win the World Cup. I mean, I know it's ambitious, but that's the goal. And I think that you get very few opportunities, and Juan Carlos Osorio gets very few chances to see his team play absolute, some of the world's best, like what we'll see this summer in the Copa America. So I think if you're building a team, you have to. If I'm Mexico manager, I'm picking my best, not just best 11, best 23 players, and then whatever's left over after that, try and fit them into the Olympic squad because.
Well, there's some 23 players though that are going to go to the Olympics and are the best 23 to go to Copa America. Tecatito, for example.
Yeah, I'd go Copa America. I mean, I know that's controversial and most people probably won't agree, but I'm thinking, well, let's build for the World Cup. You want to play your best team in this Copa America, and the Olympics is, let's see what Mexico have got. It's not the be-all and end-all.
But from what we've seen so far, especially with the list out, with the training, I mean, those players are already there, like Tecatito, are already training with the Olympic. Doesn't that already give you that they're going to be in the Olympic team?
I'm not sure he has. I think it's just the domestic-based players.
Just domestic.
They've joined up. So, I think there's a big decision to be made about Tecatito, but I really, really hope they don't play him in both because they did that last summer. And these young players, especially now he's playing regular for Porto. I mean, Osorio, he's studied, football science, sports science. He knows how the body works. He's something he's really, really keen on. So I don't think he'll allow him to play both tournaments because as a player of his age, 22, 23 years old, he needs a summer break. And he didn't get one last summer because of he played in the Gold Cup and the Copa America. So, it's really key that he chooses one. I mean, what do you guys think? Players like Chicharito, Tecatito, I mean, where would you prefer to see him?
I definitely want to move them toward the Copa America team. I mean, just what Tom was saying. I mean, you want that primary team, that number one team, to start to gel as quickly as possible. You don't want to leave it to later qualifiers and continuing to mix up the roster. You want to form the basis of the team that's going to move toward Russia and get them really gelling together. And you can tell, I mean, everyone knows that Tecatito is going to be a part of that. I mean, he's obviously an essential part of that moving forward. You want him with that major team. I mean, Chicharito, like moving him to the Olympics is just, I don't even know what to say about that. I really hope that's just some media craziness that's going on right now.
He wanted to go to the Olympics, I thought, last time. And he wasn't allowed to go to the Olympics because it wasn't an official FIFA tournament. They weren't letting him know, if I'm not mistaken.
That's what happened last time, but I mean, this is a very different summer, isn't it? Like, and he was a lot more unsettled at that time as well. Like, he was really trying to really get playing time and kind of like he wanted to be with that team, obviously. But I mean, it just seems to me that he's in a very different place, and there's that opportunity with the senior team this time around. So it seems like a completely different situation.
I think what's going to be more difficult is the likes of say a goalkeeper like Antonio Rodriguez, who it might be worth taking him to the Copa America, but then again he was already at the Olympics last time round, didn't play. Maybe he could be involved. So players like him, Raul Lopez, the players that could realistically start or be a part of the Copa America squad and also the Olympic squad. You don't want to see players like that going to be on a bench of the Copa America and then miss out on the Olympics. So it's a tough one when you really think about it and consider the options. It's a difficult one for Osorio.
And I think the dialogue will be important, also with Potro Gutierrez, because when you look at the moment or at the situation, the hierarchy right now, I would say that Potro must have a better say with the owners and the directors than Osorio in some way or another, because this guy has been in the system for 6 years. Now, with Chicharito, the issue right now with Chicharito, how it looks, is that it's rumored that he wants to play the Olympics.
Exactly. He wanted to do it 4 years ago.
Yeah, and this is the problem here. It's not about what you want. I think Chicharito should know that if he's in the Copa Centenario, Mexico's chances of actually reaching the final go up, because the season that he's having and that he will probably keep having in the next months is spectacular, probably his best in his career. So you want Chicharito to be in the Copa Centenario for Mexico to have a legitimate option to vie for the title.
Because I feel like the Copa America Centenario, it's a tournament that obviously is important and we should be going that. But Jason, you brought up a good point where you said we should gel together. We have these competitions. We'll have a lot of competition, especially with the FIFA dates. I don't see, because we don't have the full team in Copa America, we're going to lose on that. I guess it's still going to gain. If Chicharito wants to play and Bayer Leverkusen lets him play, I think that's all. Obviously, with what Osorio would want, also, I mean, I could see him playing the two tournaments. Unless Bayer Leverkusen says no, we have the Champions League and all of that. But in the case that it's marketable, like I could just see that story of Chicharito coming in. in the way that it is, and the way that FMF runs, and the Olympics, and going at it. Because let's talk about this. Although Copa America is there, that oro that we got 4 years ago was very, very important to Mexico. I still think it's the biggest thing we've ever won in football, in the world football, aside from the Copa, what happened in '99. But I feel like they want to make a competitive team as much as we can for the Olympics, to show the world, what Mexico is the way to step up in the 23 and under, and then having those 3 teams. And Chicharito would be a great asset to that Olympic team.
I'd prefer to see a player who's not proven. Like for example, Oribe Peralta in the last Olympics. That was really his with the national team. He proved himself. He played well with the younger players. He showed he was experienced. He showed he was mature. I'd honestly prefer someone like that rather than somebody who's established that that's already proven himself as one of the main figures in the team. I'd prefer somebody like goalkeeper Toño Rodriguez from Chivas. Getting that experience with this younger group, because likely he's going to be the number 1 moving forward. Mm-hmm. Or I don't know, I can't think right now, but Henry Martin from T1. I'm just throwing that out, Mm-hmm. But players like that who are on the fringe, who you think maybe in the future, if they develop, if they keep going, then they can play a part in this national team, in the full national team. I'd prefer them than the established big names.
It's never, the last 3 that went was Chuy Corona, Salcido and Peralta. And Peralta. Those are big names. Peralta was having a great season. It wasn't like unproven, because he was scoring goals. Salcido was what he done with the national team. And I feel they're going to take three players that are going to bring leadership, that are going to bring experience, and that are going to make an impact that we're going to need. Those 3 players played, didn't they? Jesus Corona played, Oribe Peralta and Salcido all played and started in the team. So I think they're going to bring 3 players that have played and that have national team experience, and that's where we see Chicharito. Maybe another goalkeeper, Ochoa maybe, because if he's not playing, why not give him a skill there? Ochoa, Chicharito, and then maybe a defender. Who knows? That could bring that back. Maybe a Moreno, maybe someone that could bring that that defense, that way that leadership is there.
One thing to point out about this U23 team is that it lacks finishers. I mean, I think that's the main dilemma with this team. Everything else is spectacular. I mean, you got Edito Lopez, Chucky Lozano, Victor Guzman had a great Olympic qualifier in the U.S., and he's a bench player in Pachuca actually at the moment. But it lacks finishers. Cubo Torres. If Cubo Torres doesn't do well with the Dynamo in the beginning of the season in March, then there's trouble right there. But it's basically Marco Bueno from León, who's a bench player, and Cubo Torres. If Cubo Torres is the key man right here, and that's why names like Chicharito and Raúl Jiménez are stand out in this issue.
Yeah, I think it brings us slightly on. I don't know if you want to get into it, but it brings us slightly onto an issue that's been absolutely sweeping the Mexican media over the last few weeks, which is that of naturalizados.
Dun, dun, dun.
Because most of the Liga MX's forward lines are made up of foreign forwards, and I think that if you want to look an area of the pitch where that's affecting Mexico at youth team level, it is up front. I mean, like Naib was said, then you got Marco Bueno, Cubo Torres, not even guaranteed to play. I mean, I was chatting to somebody from Houston the other day, and they were saying Torres might not even start the season for Houston Dynamo. So and then you have got other young strikers, Mexican strikers. Zaldivar from Chivas. He's a good player, but obviously he's not there yet. And then you've got, Guillermo Martinez from Pachuca, who needs time, but he's a big guy, and he's like, Granados as well from Chivas, who I think Almeida really likes. So I don't know. Yeah, you're right though. They're a step behind, but I think talking about the naturalized players issue is an area of the pitch where Mexico are struggling behind those kind of elite 4, of Chicharito, Vela, Giovanni, Peralta. Help me out.
Bravo.
Bravo. Raúl Jiménez.
There we go. We've got on the chat. We've got Nestor Arroyo saying "Oma bravo" to the Olympics. I've heard worse suggestions in my life.
That's right.
We never have. Naib, that under-20 team that totally failed in the in the World Cup is there. That's what we're looking at, a very talented team. What has to go differently this time? But we don't see that, especially in expectations.
I think it's important the coach, Wiso, because here we're talking about Potro, and that other team was coached by Almaguer, who I just don't. Almaguer was terrible, and speaking with players that were in that camp, specifically Orbelín Pineda, he told me that they would go into the matches relaxed, that they were so like, we're gonna win this. We got Chucky, we got Orbelín, we got Guti Gutierrez. We're gonna destroy the opponents. And when the game started, they realized that they weren't that good as a team, and I think that had to do with the coach. The coach didn't transmit, I think, the strategy correctly, and also the mentality of how to confront World Cup games. Because if you mess up right away in the first game of the World Cup, the whole thing is going to be tarnished, as it was the case in this U20 World Cup when they lost against, I think it was Mali, and it was just terrible.
Well, there it is. Big change on that. Let's switch it over to the Mexican national team to kind of wrap up that, and also with Europeos coming in. The Copa America, we've touched on it, the importance of it. We're still not sure, and I think everything. I mean, have we heard that this is going to be a FIFA tournament for Mexico, which I think it is because it's the Copa America and they're releasing the squad, so we should have our full squads there. I haven't heard anything. I think something would have came out that it was only going to be sub-23 or anything like that, but we'll have a full team there. Expectations, obviously, in the United States with games in stadiums with capacity, with large capacities, we can see, and everywhere. But to you, Jason, expectation of this Copa America for 2016. You're sitting there, you're the FMF president, you have millions of dollars, and you have to give a little speech on where do you want Mexico, especially that summer, because we've seen Osorio, and you heard him talk in a couple of interviews here or there that he wants to win it. Is that the mentality we should come in, or maybe finish in the top 3 or 4? What should we look like? Reality and expectations.
I mean, I think Mexico is a quality enough team to have like the end push being a title, a trophy. I mean, it's not that Mexico would be favored to do so, but they certainly have the possibility. They're within like the handful of teams that can really pull that off, or at least be favored to do so. They're not going to be the best team there. They're not going to be the most talented team there, and they probably won't play the best. But they certainly can strive for that. And I think expectation is that they put on a – I mean, I don't know. I can't step into those shoes, those FMF shoes. They feel weird, and they're kind of lined – they're like the lining of dollar bills in the soles kind of feels funny on my feet. But I don't know. I just think that the expectation is that they perform well. And if that results in wins and an ultimate, like a trophy, great. If it gets them to a quarterfinal, semifinal where they lose to a Brazil and Argentina or something like that, okay. I mean, so that happens sometimes because you're playing quality opponents. I mean, crapping out against some crap team from the Caribbean where they just put on a sad show, then we'd have something to talk about. I might need to sit down with the manager and have some discussions. But I mean, it's putting in a performance, and in a knockout tournament, you don't know exactly where you're going to get. I don't think you could say you have to be in the Final Four, you have to be in the semifinal, or whatever. Like, it's just perform to a level of expected what is with Mexico, and that is a solid performance, get to the final stages, put on a good show.
Jason was
That's unrealistic. It would never happen.
Political answer. I mean,
can you imagine the how they present the thing every month, like these are the goals, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point.
Yeah.
Because of as long as we play well enough, we'll be right. We'll be fine. Imagine the Mexican press.
We'll love that. Not even 2007, I think it would be probably the most competitive Copa America that we played with a full team squad. If you remember, Hugo Sanchez, Nery Castillo, bringing I think a third place match against Uruguay.
Yeah.
That's probably the last time Copa America where Mexico obviously did well in the tournament and had such an impact, bringing the A squad, as we like to call it, as a lot of people like to call it. We have the team to do that this year, considering the notion of CONCACAF not having such strong teams going in, but also the competition in Copa America. Can that be achievable? And that's like Jason said, as long as we play well. But with an A squad, there's no excuses.
Yeah, I mean, I think also it will be interesting to see how the CONMEBOL teams take this tournament because if I'm not mistaken, they also have the qualifiers going on around the same time. For example, Argentina with Messi, Suarez, Uruguay, and Neymar. I don't know how far Barcelona's probably going to go this season, but more than likely they'll probably reach the final in the Champions League. And that sort of generates a little bit of doubts of the calendar making for those teams. But right now, South America, San Paoli is going to leave Chile, and I think that's going to be really bad for Chile. Peckerman in Colombia is living bad times. It's not the best of times in Colombia right now for Peckerman. They actually want Osorio to go to Colombia probably in the next months. So, I mean, it's a moment for El Tri to take advantage because they're going to be playing home. I mean, when they play in the U.S., they're playing home, so they'll be the home team. So they got to take advantage of that also.
I mean, coming into 2016 for Mexico, there's a lot of positives. I mean, I think you look at the players in Europe and you say they're performing. Finally, there's a bulk of them that are actually performing to a high level. I mean, Chicharito in Germany, brilliant. Layun at Porto, having a great season. Reyes at Real Sociedad is playing games. Vela has got to improve, but at least he's playing. Jonathan Dos Santos, for me, this has been a great season for him. We're one of the best teams in Spain, and he's playing regularly. Ochoa, sin comentarios. And Andres Guardado, another great season. Tecatito, absolute breakout season for me.
Hector Herrera now coming back.
Herrera starting to find some form. Moreno, Pulido, otra vez sin comentarios. You know what I mean, though? But you've got a bulk of these Mexican players now that are actually performing week in, week out in Europe to a high level. It's not that wishy-washy kind of in there a bit, coming out. They're actually performing. Raul Jimenez as well. He's getting more and more minutes with Benfica. So I think when you look at the Copa America and you look, it's in the US. Mexico are going to have a very strong team, and I think they're going to entertain. I think there's absolutely no reason to fear what's coming. I mean, I think Mexico got every chance of going very far in the competition.
Well said, Tom. Well said, Tom. Especially with everyone playing well.
And this is Osorio's first year, so naturally, in the natural cycle of a Mexico manager, the first year's pretty good, and then slowly kind of the wheels fall off a bit. But this year we should be good.
Except for Sven. We'll go through all the managers that we replaced. It's true. Right now on the Mexican Soccer Show Twitter, if you're following on Twitter, there is a poll done by our good friend Afrozander, who's managing the live tweet. What would you, if you had to put an importance to it, what would it be? Would it be the Copa America or the Olympics? Definitely vote and give us your input into what's more important. What would you rather win? I'll ask you guys that question right now. What would you rather win if you could pick one? The Copa America or Copa Oro? A pretty unison in there, Tom?
Copa America.
Copa America. Naive?
Centenario.
That's it. And obviously Jason going. Yeah, I think it'd be huge. Obviously, that's something that we need, even though it's kind of like a Copa America postiza, it's kind of like the next year and how we do that. But into what everyone has been saying in the chats, first of all, Naive, they love the mic, so congratulations on your
it's a good
your mic.
Regalo de Reyes Magos, ¿no?
Yeah, Reyes Magos.
Nice.
El niñito de Dios.
So lots of stuff that's going on, but let's go wrap up to the Mexican national team. A little bit of controversy, really quick. Just love to have your thoughts, guys. On obviously there's no way to talk about this without using the term, but everyone knows what happens when there is a goal kick in all the Mexico games, and we've heard that in the media now. We kind of heard a little bit 2 years ago. Obviously, if you don't know what happens in Mexico games, then I don't know where you've been, because it doesn't matter. In every televised you hear, I think some of Univision's feeds they cut out, but the offensive term, and I'll go ahead and say it one time, the puto term that is yelled at, is being talked about again. Sanctioning, Mexico and FIFA giving some. It wasn't only Mexico; it was other.
Four others, yeah.
Yeah, 4 other countries with either homophobic chants or I think even some racial chants. So just a little conversation, not to spend too much time about it, but your thoughts on this. Is it a problem? What can they do? Is it something that's not going to go away? And good thing we don't have Johnny Enrico on the show, or probably would be sued for something offending someone already on our chat that we have on our WhatsApp. Looking at all these, he's already saying I already cut him off the show. But let's hear it. And it's good that we have Tom being a Brit, naive, what you have obviously bring. And then Jason also, kind of an American, following Mexican. So all three different cultures, and me, being from León, naive, in Mexico City, you hear this, you see it. So it's kind of great to have this discussion on all of our difference in the cultural upbringings. But let's talk about it. Give it a couple minutes. That way people can hear here on the chat. And I'll start with you, Tom. You're in Mexico. What I see and what I hear is just pretty much laughing at FIFA for trying to sanction this in every stuff. But your thoughts?
Yeah, there's a disconnect, no doubt about it, between the majority of Mexicans who don't see any problem with the chant, and it happens at every single Liga MX game. I mean, it happens every weekend, and the wider kind of what people in the wider world think. I mean, personally, I don't think it's right. I mean, it shouldn't happen. I think it's negative. I think it has a negative connotation. But the disconnect is that most Mexicans don't think that, you know what I mean? Exactly. So, do you take that into consideration? Personally, I think it's wrong. I think FIFA are right to crack down. But at the same time, I think the Mexican Federation really took their eye off the ball with it, because they tried to defend it. They defended it at the World Cup. They made fun of it. Miguel Herrera made fun of it by saying the putotzin and all that. There was an Azteca kind of, what was it? What's it called? Nahuatl. Yeah, Nahuatl, it's an old word.
Nahuatl.
Yeah. I mean, he's not taking it seriously, and then Cantú has come out and said no, we're gonna appeal it, and it's I feel like the swimming against the tide there. I feel like what they should do, or what they should have done after the World Cup, was come out with a kind of campaign to try and educate and say, look, we know it happens, we know why it's done, but it's not right. And I think then they would have at least kind of tried to defend themselves against what's happening now, because now they're in a real mess. And the fact that they're defending it again, it's like they're digging a hole deeper and deeper. They're not understanding that in the wider world this isn't something that's a good thing. And I'm not aiming that squarely at Mexico. I've just come back from England, and some of the chants you hear over there are awful. I mean, there's a Manchester United one, cutting up Liverpool fans from head to toe. There's all sorts of chants going on in the Premier League that are absolutely, if you judge it from a moral point of view, absolutely disgusting. But that doesn't make the puto chant right either, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I think it's a very, how would I say it? It's a very confusing problem, and because there's really no solution to it. I mean, can FIFA really ban the FMF, and how far will it go in order to make sure that this chant is it doesn't happen? Well, I can see a game with no public. Can you imagine a Mexico game with no fans? I mean, would that get the fans to stop? And we'll do a campaign like you say, Tom. So there's no solution to it.
I mean,
I think it's the intent
in every stadium, no? I mean, I think that it's so ingrained to the tradition of the fan.
Exactly.
I think, and I know it's incorrect in all sense. But look, if FIFA is doing this kind of stuff, then why the World Cup is going to be in Russia, where it's like one of the most homophobic countries, with Vladimir Putin openly stating stuff against homosexuals and all that. Why is the World Cup in Russia? And they should take the World Cup somewhere else. I don't know, Australia or England. So that's what FIFA should do. If they're gonna bash at this chant, they should also take the World Cup away from Russia. I think
the hypocrisy of FIFA comes in the fact that we're gonna do this, and then you have all of the maldoings and the wrongdoings that FIFA have. But and I think more people are angry. But taking that into effect, it is wrong, because I know as Mexican, I talk to family and I talk to a lot of people about it. No, putos, we say that all the time, and it's in the context of difference how we all talk, and it's just, that's how it is. If somebody come up to you, ¿Qué pasó, puto? It doesn't matter. That's how people talk. But at the same time, we know why we're saying it. In the context that we're saying that, it is. We can't kid ourselves in saying that the way that we say puto in that chat is just a term of what everybody says, like way. It isn't. Let's get down to it. It is offensive, but
But
Yeah.
Can you stop that?
Let
I
me
mean, the
go on,
go ahead,
Jason.
Tom.
Just
Well, I
really
mean, like,
quick.
Jason, go ahead.
The hypocrisy of, I mean, it's certainly hypocritical of FIFA. I mean, just exactly Naive said, where they're coming from, the things they've decided to take a stand on versus not take a stand on, but this has been set up by what FIFA, but what the FMF has not done. I mean, the FMF needed to be the bad guy in this eventually, and they never did. So, I mean, FIFA steps in, and FIFA steps in on stupid things sometimes, occasionally, because they kind of do everything ass backwards. But the FMF needed to be the bad guy at some point here and step up and put it in the spotlight for Mexico fans, Mexicans coming forward and saying, Mexicans speaking to Mexicans saying, hey, people are offended by this. We need to kind of tone it down. We need to rein it in. I mean, that's the way that was going to stop. But now it's being put into a third party's hands, coming at Mexico and others for this. And so, I mean, it's kind of put Mexican Federation on the defensive, where really it should have been with the FMF stepping up earlier and taking a stand and doing something about it, and they never did.
Yeah, I was at the, before I say so, Tom, it was the Brazil game where FIFA took notice. I think it was an article in the New York Times or some article in the U.S. where it said, you know, the homophobic chant, puto, whatever it came from, and then FIFA took notice, the whole world. And what happened? FIFA tried to talk to the FMF, and they did all that. It was kind of a joke. What happened at that game? I was at that game in Croatia, against Croatia, in Recife, and then not only did they do the puto chant in the goal kick, but they started doing it in every single possession where it was a throw-in, was it a free kick? It was just, that's the Mexican culture, and that's what's going to happen if you try to keep pushing this, unless something gets stopped where it's in the drastic. So I just don't see an end. It's a difficult subject because when I come down to it, you know, it comes down to what if there is a gay a goalkeeper in another team that does get offended. You know,
well, it's not just that, though. I mean it's not just that. I mean, let me read something. My friend Duncan Tucker, you can find him on Twitter, he's just done a story for Vice Sports, and he interviewed the president of a Mexican gay rights organization called Colectivo Sol, and this is what this guy said about it. He said, it is a cultural thing, but it's cultural discrimination, cultural homophobia. Calling football players puto is not just about making them miss the kick, it's a way of degrading their masculine abilities and saying they're not real men. I mean, when somebody like that from an organization like that, a Mexican, I can't help agreeing.
Yeah,
you know?
no, it's true. It's true, but then you're going to come down with the cultural aspect of it. Are they going to ban it in international games, or are they just going to do it in what way can you even stop that in the Liga MX games or what?
No, that'd be up to Mexico to do it, and that's again the league should be trying to do it. But
only chanted in Mexico games, not outside.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, you know, in England there was a lot of racist chanting back in the 70s, you know, and through campaigning hard, you know, racism is still an issue in the English game, but it's nowhere near like what it was in the 70s and 80s. So to say there's nothing that we can do, I don't agree. I think you have to start to try and bit by bit, it might be a generational thing, like, you know,
exactly.
And I don't want to come across as this kind of stuck-up foreigner, because at the end of the day, you don't live for 8 years in Mexico if you can't accept a bit of political incorrectness, because you hear it pretty much every day. So, but I mean, it's just you have to act against it, and that has to be the start.
And look, and I think that explanation that Tom read, I think it's just perfect, because you know, here in Mexico, it's a really football is a family thing. You see a lot of kids going, and I think, you know, from a little kid, they start saying that word puto, and I think it's vulgarity and all that stuff. And I think if there's more campaigns, those kids won't be, they'll grow into a generation that will probably not use it anymore. But in order for that to happen, the FMF has to do a lot of PR stuff, and the Liga MX has to do a lot of PR stuff, which they're not that good at doing, as we all know.
And the players, and you know.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, like, imagine like the impact of having someone like Chicharito come out and say something, right? I mean, like, that would have an impact.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be his place to do it, but I mean, like, just in a scenario where something like that happened, I mean, things like that would have an impact. You know, like Mexicans speaking up and saying, "Hey, not cool."
Yeah, exactly. That's
that happening. I'm sorry. It's just it's so funny because outside of the cultural thing, you know, when you do talk to somebody, it's just not even a question. So what? We like it. You know, I mean, I think Mexicans are even proud of it. And if you're not in that culture, because when you see it in a live game, and when that, not only when you're in a game and you have the hands up and you're there, and even the goosebumps that rush through you because everybody's doing this, and we're ridiculing this goalkeeper. And I think even some of the Mexican fans are just like, yeah, well, let's do it just to be funny and the aspect of it. And it'll be really, really hard and to take that away from someone. And just like you said, Tom, I think you have it in the generations. Hopefully, in generations that we see, because it is wrong, although taking everything out in the culture aspect of it. So it's like I said, it's a very, very difficult subject. Who knows what's really going to happen? And is FIFA just kind of doing this, and we'll revisit this in a couple of years before the World Cup, because the more that they do it, and the FMF fights against it, I think that's when there's going to be a problem. And who knows how far it's going to go.
It's also been exploited as well. Not to keep going on. I think we've covered it pretty much, but it's just like, the fact that you said we saw in that Brazil-Mexico game, the Brazilian fans were doing it, and now the Chilean fans and the Uruguay. I think it's Argentina definitely. So I think that's another reason why FIFA have come out and said, look, this is happening way too much now. It's now actually not just a Mexican thing.
It's also worth pointing out that, a lot of my games I went to in Mexico, there's a lot of other things that are chanted with regularity, like words I'm not going to say, that are of the same genre of horrible kinds of things you might want to say, kind of discriminatory things along that line. And I think this particular chant, I certainly the way it's put out there. I think there's a strong argument, and a lot of people make the argument that it's not meant to be offensive, but things are offensive whether you mean them to be or not. And some of the other things that often get chanted at games are along the same ilk that come out in these stadiums. And so I think something that for me at least, I think that is something that the FMF, Liga MX really needs to kind of step up on and kind of take control of a bit, because I think there is a real problem there.
Yeah. Just another quick thing. I know I keep going on and on now, but I think it really hammers home this point, the lack of awareness and the kind of something I talk about quite a lot, but the bubble mentality of the FMF and the Liga MX. Very few have been out of the country and worked outside the country, and I don't know, in a way it seems disconnected slightly from the Mexican game. And I think that in these kind of decisions where not reacting to a situation after the World Cup where, all right, all of a sudden this chant gets world attention. Instead of taking the bull by the horns of controlling and managing, the situation, they just let it go completely out of control. And I think they're now suffering because of that.
Yeah. I got a solution.
I know what you're going to say, yeah. Go on.
Fua!
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, change the words.
They did it for a couple of games.
Yeah,
but
the meaning of "fua" was to give words to the 11 Mexican players.
Fua! I mean, come on, that's it.
See if Afro Zander can find the original "fua." It was in the
video
in Guadalajara in the what's it called? The Mercado. I can't remember now. Bastos, Mercado de Abastos. Some guy just absolutely wasted. I mean, that was brilliant. I mean, Mexican sense of humor is amazing. I mean, but it comes out in stuff like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And the puto chant is just going the wrong side of it. I mean,
and it's a chant that it's not the team. It's not the organizer. I think when I went to Arizona State, we had a chant because of the band would start, and it was pretty bad. I mean, just what we said, we had it for years, and it was hilarious saying it, and it was pretty bad against the other team, and the band just stopped playing that song, and it kind of just sticks. You stop. There's no way to stop it unless, again, and I can totally see your point, Jason. I can totally see Chicharito and Guardado have a conversation. Hey, on a big, national public, commercial spot, that this is probably not okay, or it's not okay, or whatever, and maybe that'll get things talking about it. But I feel it's just going to either it's going to die off generation, just what Tom said, or it's just going to get worse until they ban him and please don't say this anymore, or maybe just play a bunch of music right when the el portero despeja, and just play the America chant, America,
that's what they do when Pumas do the cachu cachu and ra.
Yeah, right in that minute, whatever. That maybe that's what they need to do. Just put some some whatever, but we'll see where it's going. But enough of this subject. I know a lot of our Twitter followers were asking, and whenever this came out last week and 2 weeks to have a discussion, and tell us what you think. Is it a generational thing? Do you ever think that this is going to go away? Send us your thoughts on Twitter, and especially with the hashtag Monday Night Football in this discussion, because it's fun. It's fun to hear everyone's output. But enough on that subject. Really quickly, Europeos. I know we're going to go into Liga MX and talk about the second week, but really quickly, Naive, in the Europeos talk. We know that Hector Herrera's coming back. We discussed a little bit, but to you, who's the person that's going to be the breakout star this year, according to you, maybe, and what you're seeing?
I mean, in the first weeks of the year, you can sort of say that it's going to be again Hector Herrera, because he's the captain of Porto. We'll see what the new coach will bring in, who the new coach will be. By the looks of it, it's going to be José Peseiro, a Portuguese coach, because in the morning I was reading Marcelo Loco Bielsa to Porto, and I was like, oh my God. But it's a guy that I don't know who he is, Peseiro. So I think Herrera is a player to keep an eye on, because I think the fact that he's a captain establishes that he has leadership qualities. And that's always beneficial for El Tri, because now you have Guardado, you have Moreno, you have Herrera, because we always say like, oh, Rafa Marquez, the leader is not present, but now there's a possibility of having three leaders there, Herrera, Guardado, and Moreno.
Well, there it is. The person to watch out for, Naive Moram in 2016, Hector Herrera, who we're seeing. But let's go ahead and I know lots of people are anxious for us to talk about Liga MX is finally here. We're going to go a little bit over because I'm sure we're going to go talk a little bit more. So, tell your novias, your mom, your wife, or anyone that you're going to be a little late because the Mexican Soccer Show is going to be a little bit over with Liga MX. So don't worry, we'll get there. The Liga MX is here. Tom, in Mexico, 2 weeks in, have we already seen a change with the teams that were there in the top 8? Tell us, what do we need to know? If I don't know anything about Liga MX, because I had 7 days of 2 weeks of hangover, and I have not watched a single game. Not me, I'm just saying if there is a fan. What do I need to know about the Liga MX right now? Who's looking to contenders? Is it changed a lot? And let's have a discussion. Jason, I'm coming to you with Cruz Azul news and what we're looking at on output, so don't get ready. And Naive, obviously, what we're looking at with those new players, especially for this year.
Yeah, I think,
take it away.
I don't think it's too different. I mean, Tigres obviously going to be right up there. I think Monterrey, they're my pick for the title. I've got it in writing, so I know we've not had a show, but I've written it down. So that's my pick for the title because I think they had a long pre-season because they didn't make the playoffs last time around. And I think that does count for something. And they've signed Carlos Sanchez, who was named the American continent's best player for 2015. So I just think they're a really complete team. Antonio Mohamed has won the title with his last 2 teams in Mexico, so he's got that knowledge as well. And I think Tigres obviously are going to be right up there. A Monterrey Tigres final wouldn't surprise me unless they meet in the playoffs. But yeah, Leon have really broken out in a good way. They're the only other team apart from Monterrey to win the first 2 games. It looks like they're slowly getting it together now under PC for the first time. So we'll see how that goes. But they're looking really exciting. Aside from that, America, Pachuca looking good. Pumas are looking all right. Santos, I think it might pick up again this season. Chivas, I mean, they're just flying forward, but they're playing with like only 3 defensive outfield players, so they're struggling in the defensive end of the field. But and I think the other issue that may or may not be of interest is those 5 players who moved down from MLS to Liga MX. Definitely worth keeping an eye out. I mean, Omar Gonzalez has started really, really well with Pachuca. Jorge Villafaña has started well with Santos Laguna, not capped by either Mexico or the United States. So there may or may not be a little battle there for him because I think both teams are short of left backs. So that's something else to keep an eye out for. But yeah, I think in general, same as last season. I'd say pretty much the same. No major like team going up or team going down.
Jason, to you, best team so far in the last 2 weeks. Leon doing well already, just like we start. America, who I think is looking, for some reason, I feel like America is the best team from what I've seen. But to you, best team so far in the last 2 weeks.
I'd have to say Monterrey as well. I was really impressed with their win yesterday in Puebla. I really, I mean, I've been impressed with Puebla, what Marini's done there, and I think that's a really strong team. And the way that Monterrey just really took it to them in Puebla yesterday was an impressive win. Mohamed, by my count, his record so far with Monterrey, 20, 10, and 12 at this point in all competitions, which is pretty good considering he didn't get off to the greatest start and stepping in with that team for just about a year now. And just really rounding out to be a complete team. I mean, this has been coming on for a while with Monterrey, just expecting them to take that next step up to get right back up there to their entitled contention. And they haven't quite gotten there, and now Mohamed seems like he really has them clicking. So they're definitely one of the teams to contend with, potential to challenge Tigres this year. Other teams that really stick out, obviously Leon is clicking as well. I don't know. I mean, other than that, I mean, Toluca, Pumas, I mean, the same kind of teams that we had last season. I don't think there's a lot of things sticking out. So you mentioned that you're hopeful about my Cruz Azul.
I am. For some reason, I think like I know people laugh, and I don't want to give so much hope, but I think.
Hey, so am I. So am I. Just for the record.
I've learned to keep my guard up, and so my guard is up. I'm not super hopeful. I'm not gonna be all excited about what's gonna happen this year. I know that back line for Cruz Azul with Kata and Maza back there. Mm-hmm. They're not quite what they used to be, and they scare me. And the left back, right back situation is not great. The whole defensive line back there is kind of frightening, and the team's just so old. I mean, they're just an old team. So you just don't know what's going to come. So I think Cruz Azul has potential to get back into
had a potential
before they crap out in dramatic fashion. I think that's where they are. I think the teams that Cruz Azul has played thus far haven't really wowed. I think Chivas this weekend, that performance they put out there was just the worst. And I don't think that spoke well of Cruz Azul that they couldn't win that game, because Chivas it was hard to figure out what they were doing on the field. So I think Chivas should have played so much better than that, and they just didn't. So I don't know. Time will tell. Time will tell on that.
The first 10 minutes for Chivas were great when Orbelín, yes. and after that it just went down the drain. It was all Cruz Azul basically.
Gullit, before you said Gullit playing in that, I just don't see Gullit being comfortable playing right out, right behind that. Like that's not his spot.
He's too close to the forward. Exactly. I think
he's way too close.
Yeah. He has to move back a little bit to the midfield and support Israel Castro. Who, by the way, Israel Castro has been impressive in the first two games of the Clausura. But just adding to what Jason and Tom said, quick observations. I think Monterrey's attack is just phenomenal, man. I mean, you have Cardona, Pavón, Funes Mori, and then you have Carlos Sanchez, who scored a brace yesterday in Puebla. And then with Pachuca, it's interesting because they sort of strengthened their defense, which was their weak point, and they brought in Stefan Medina, who's actually a defensive midfielder. And they also have Omar Gonzalez and Oscar Murillo at center backs. Oscar Murillo and Stefan Medina were coached by Juan Carlos Osorio in Atlético Nacional, so they know each other from back in the day in Colombia. So, and then if you add, Franco Jara, who I think is a great forward, a great striker, with Chucky, Rodolfo, and Guti Gutierrez, is exciting times. And Burrito Hernandez, a good defensive midfielder, exciting times for Pachuca right now. So the Pachuca America on Saturday will be great, especially because America doesn't win home games. They go all out away. In Jalisco, they play phenomenal in the second half, but when they play in the Azteca, something happens. It just sort of eats them up. I don't know what. So it's a good opportunity on Saturday for America to revindicate their homestands.
The reason why I say America, as a Leon fan, I had more fuel to fire than Americanistas, and I feel that they're gonna win. I feel that this is I'm looking at all the teams and the schedule and what Nacho Ambriz has to do. They have to win some type of title this one where he's out, and I feel like this is it. America will be lifting the cup, and that's my prediction. But why 100 years? Obviously, the Centenario, and what they're doing, and I feel also what stopped them last last season was all, the management and the red cards and everything. But Sambuesa that's coming out already saying, the changes that he'll make. Benedetto, who is going to be phenomenal, I think, could be, there with Pierre Gignac if he stays healthy and he plays in. So that's my prediction on as to I see in America. And I think right when we're looking for Nacho Ambriz in order to put more, pressure on him, he's got these two games. Well, we'll see where that's going into.
And real quick with Leon, Maxi Morales, he could be the Gignac of the Clausura. Coming in from Serie A and Atalanta. He was a starter in Atalanta. Mm-hmm. Playing every game for that team over there in Bergamo, where Miguel Ayun played in Atalanta at one point in his career. But Maxi Morales is of the same generation of Giovanni Carlos Vela. In the 2007 U20 World Cup, Argentina eliminated El Tri in the quarterfinals, and Maxi Morales was part of that U20 Argentina team with the Messis and Agüeros.
What a team. What a team. Let's talk about next weekend. In very, very looking at the schedule, it's going to be some great games. Great games. You said it coming in the fixture. Querétaro Dorado. So aside from Querétaro Dorados start off the Friday, Tijuana Santos, but like you said, América Pachuca on Saturday, Monterrey Atlas, León Cruz Azul to see where that's at. Morelia Toluca, Chiapas Veracruz, and on Sunday Pumas Puebla and Chivas versus Tigre. To you, Tom, what is the game to watch? Entertaining. I'm looking at Tigres Chivas just because of Chivas and what Tigre could bring. But to you, what else? What's a team? What's the best game you think if you had to pick one game?
Querétaro Dorados. I mean, it's going to be no. Yeah, America Pachuca. I think they've had some really good games over recent years as well. I mean, I really think, in terms of the game, in terms of two top teams going up against each other, I think that's the game of the weekend. Chivas is going to be fascinating because they're playing, the best team in Mexico, Tigres, and they've started 2 games without a win, and all of a sudden, if Chivas don't win, I think it's going to be like 1 win in the last 9 games, in like 9 league games. So, they're all of a sudden in trouble again. But Dorados, for me, just seem to be a level below what's required in this league. I mean, it's so even, the league, in terms of anybody can beat anybody, apart from Dorados. And Dorados, they've won 3 out of 19 games since they got promoted. Mm-hmm. They've lost the last 3. They just seem to be not quite good enough. And I think it's in a way unfortunate because the relegation race is really tight between like Chivas, Morelia, Puebla, and I think Veracruz. But then you've got Dorados, who are just like way below now. So I mean, if they're ever going to do it, it's going to be against a Querétaro team who also hasn't got a point yet this season. So that's actually a battle between the bottom 2 of the Clausura.
Naib, agree. Pachuca America, best game probably this weekend.
Yeah, I think that game is interesting. But I mean, for example, the Cruz Azul León.
Yeah.
I think adding a little bit more. I mean, we'll see if Victor Vázquez, the Spaniard that came from Belgium, will make his debut in Nou Camp, where the Feria de León is taking place. I know we probably knows that.
Los Gallos.
And. But I was really impressed this weekend. One thing that I want to mention with Brian Ravelo from Santos and Luis Montes from León, because they are your natural number 10s, mm-hmm. And the number 10 in the world of football is sort of an endangered species. They don't exist no more. But in Liga MX, there's actually great number 10s. You have Montes, Ravelo, and even Sambuesa sometimes can be considered number 10. So I think that's one of the and Victor Vázquez, the guy that came to Cruz Azul, he also plays that role. So I mean, I think it's interesting how in the Mexican game the number 10 is still an integral part of the starting 11, which in other leagues you don't see that anymore.
Yeah, watching Montes this weekend was just great, and his pacing, his passing. It looks like Chapito Montes is back from what we've seen. Maybe he needed Gullit to be away. Maybe that was stopping him.
Yeah.
But we're looking at maybe that the love, they kind of broke up, and he's on to better things in new loves.
And
Yeah.
real quick, we saw. I
Uh-huh.
think Tom could sort of talk a little bit about Rafa Marquez and his influence in
Yep.
Atlas, because it seems that when Rafa Marquez is on the pitch, Atlas seems solid in the back, but when he's not on the pitch, it's disaster.
Yes,
It's
as we
worrying.
saw that
It was
that
worrying.
injury, first half and then second half. Tom, Rafa
Yeah.
Marquez in the news. You're there in Guadalajara. How's that looking?
No, yeah, I mean, I went to the game and Atlas were poor. I mean, they were just poor. I mean, I know the manager afterwards, Costas was like, he changed when Marcus came off, but it's like that's a poor excuse for me. You've got a 36-year-old player who, I know it's Rafa Marquez. I know been a
It's
top
Rafa.
player, but I mean, relying on him, at this stage of his career, I don't think that's not great from Atlas. I'm looking at Atlas now.
2 games in.
Two games in, and they bring Felipe Baloy off the bench. If
Who
I'm
had
honestly,
horrible game.
yeah, it was awful. But it's like,
Oh man.
if you're an Atlas fan, you're looking at the defense and you're thinking, all right, we've got Rafa back. It's nice, sentimental. I love it when players come back to their first clubs. I think it's just great story and giving back. I really like it. But if I'm an Atlas fan, I'm thinking, where's the young centre backs? We've got a history of one of the best canteras in the whole country. Like, why are we buying Felipe Baloy, and then we're buying Rafa Marquez? I mean, where's these young players coming from? And I think it's a real problem at Atlas. I mean, I think that the planning has been pretty poor, and they're actually quite a good team now in terms of, I think they've got a lot of experience, but in terms of what's coming through after Ponchito, and then you've got Alvarez. After that, I think they're struggling.
That's true. What's the status on the injury, Tom?
No, he'll be back next week. He was just a precaution, and he'll be ready for the Monterrey away game, which is, I can see Atlas getting absolutely another 3-0, to be honest.
So what you're saying is Rafa Marquez to the Olympic team?
Yep, perfect.
Perfect.
Basically what I was saying, Weasel, how did you know?
Jason, to you, the game to watch. I mean, we could agree León Cruz Azul is probably the game to watch between me and you, but
One I'll be watching for sure. But America Pachuca is the most exciting game. I mean, most potential for excitement, quality as well. I think 2 under the radar games that I'd be looking at, and I'm excited to watch, would be the late Friday game, the Xolos Santos game. Not the 2 strongest teams, but I think it has a potential for just being a wide open, entertaining game.
Piojo.
Yeah, that's right. Always fun to watch him as well. And then Pumas Puebla. Puebla is kind of my team. I enjoy watching so much. And then it's always interesting to see what Puma's going to do at home. So I think it could be one-sided, but I think Puebla could put up a pretty good fight in that one too. So that could be an interesting match as well.
Well, there you go, guys.
One quick point I wanna add about Rayados, and I think going with the weeks as the weeks go by, because we're really impressed with the first 2 games against Pumas and Puebla, but with Rayados, what I'm worried about is the center backs. I don't know if Basanta, and I know Cesar Montes is a great talent, but he's still young. He still has to grow, and I think he left the game against Puebla with an injury. I don't know how serious that is. So that could be Basanta, Ricardo Soria as its center backs. Not so reliable, in my opinion. Those 2 center backs. Not my opinion.
Interesting to see what happens and what unfolds. As you know, all of the prediction that happens in Liga MX is the league that you can never make money on because everything just goes down the drain. So we'll see what happens if these will still go to it. But interesting enough, it is going to be some very interesting games in every game. So making sure that you tweet us, your predictions and what you've talked about. But it looks like it is time for us to end our show. Thank you to Tom. The back. What are you eating, Tom? People have been asking. What do you got? What do you got? I mean, let's. Is that a watermelon?
Cookie?
It looked like a fortune cookie. Never mind, he's muted. Can anybody else hear Tom? 'Cause I think he muted. He was eating so hard that it muted his own mic. But thank you, Naive, with the brand new mic, looking great about Mexico City. And Jason, there. Where are you again? Philadelphia?
I'm in the suburbs of Philadelphia, so where I am.
Suburbs of Philadelphia. There we go. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway, no, I got some good fortune cookies.
Tom,
just wanted
Tom,
to let you know.
Some good fortune cookies.
Yeah, it's all good. Don't worry. You know, Mexico, Copa America victory, Olympic victory, no problem. So am I.
Thank you to Mr. Ivan Fernandez, you know, I'm Afrozano on Twitter, for doing our live tweets. Go on and follow us there on Twitter, Mexican Soccer Show. And also here in the YouTube channel, looking to gain our subscribers, get you guys more information on that. And also follow us on Facebook, everywhere. We don't have a Snapchat yet, but that we'll maybe have Johnny Rico follow and do that, since he loves Snapchat so much. But saying hello to Mr. Cesar Hernandez, who couldn't join us, who moved to San Diego, and has had some problems with getting connected on the internet, so I'm sure he'll be back next week. But this has been the Mexican Soccer Show, guys. It's all, you know, we love the fact that all the supports. We'll be talking a little bit about our intern next week. We have our intern being selected and what she will be doing to help us grow. If you have any questions to all of us, please tweet us out. You'll see everybody's Twitter, except for Jason. Jason didn't put his little Twitter handle on there, but it's Soccer Mexicana on there. Love the fact that we can connect with you guys, and again, we do this all for you. We'll see you guys next week, 7 p.m. Pacific. Talk to you guys later. See you all. Naive, Jason, everyone having fun? All right, guys. Talk to you later.